Hello everyone and welcome to the April 30th meeting of the Municipal Budget Committee. If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you everyone for attending. I'm just going to ask everyone, we have a big budget committee now, so I'm just going to have everyone go around the room and introduce themselves. Stacy Dion, Chair.
Chuck Hart.
Laurie Moore. Paula Mahoney. Marissa Federico, Recording Secretary.
Mark Goddard, Paul Rose.
Martha Jacob.
Joe Gagnon.
Brenda Filippo.
Pam Brown.
I just want to remember everyone, when you're speaking, please put on your microphone. And if you're not speaking, you might want to shut it off because we do get a little bit of feedback. All right, so we're going to start with the minutes. Did everyone get a copy of the minutes? Is there a motion for approval?
Move the minutes of March 26, 2025.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstention. So we have one abstention. So, all right. So the purpose of this meeting is to review the first quarter expenditures and revenue. There's a report that was sent out regarding year-to-date expenditures, and so the first part is the income. And does anyone have any questions on the income? So this is my one question, is that we're only at 9.29%, and we're a quarter of the way through, so I would expect towards 20% of that, but I think it's because some of our revenue is delayed.
Yeah, it's the tax money, so that doesn't come in until July.
Right.
So the first quarter and most of the second quarter, it's under, but that's why.
Right.
So that is.
So yeah, so that's the one thing that and this includes the tax. Yeah, it does. So this one is different than our normal ones.
Yes, that's from the system.
That's right. So I just want to make sure. So we will get one when we start going through. We'll get a spreadsheet, and it excludes the income from property taxes, because how we budget is we estimate the revenues, and then the rest of the money is made up with taxes. So we want to make sure that we're taking a look at this.
And a lot of the funds that we do get, the bigger things, is in November, December time period from the state.
So the meals and highways, the meals and rooms tax, and the like highway block grant and things of that nature come in the second half of the year after the fiscal year.
Highway block grant is quarterly.
Okay.
And then the meals and room tax is in December, November, December.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions or concerns regarding the revenue?
send that?
I sent that on Monday.
Yeah. I'll look and see. I got it.
Okay. Did everyone get this?
I just got it yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah, yesterday.
Yes.
That's when I got mine.
Actually, no, I got mine.
Monday. Make sure I just want to, so I sent it out on Monday. That's Monday. I,
3:09 p.m. today.
Was this the mail one? I got that today.
I got both today.
you would have gotten 2 different emails today.
2:57.
You would have gotten 2 on Monday, one with the data, one with the bylaws, Robert's rules, and the guidance. That was all on Monday with the minutes. And then today you would have gotten, if you have a town email, you've gotten a town email, or a new town email, and you would have gotten additional information, SB 297, and physical, change to physical year, and yeah, I sent a lot of information this week. Okay.
So what was
That's
sent
okay.
out Monday again?
Monday was the agenda, the minutes, this spreadsheet with the revenue and the expenditures. I also sent the bylaws,
That's what I didn't see.
a link to RSA 32 and Robert's rules, so that everyone has an understanding of kind of how we run these meetings, that we follow Robert's rules. And then today I sent out
I did get that.
the email and then some additional information as we're going through.
I'll
Okay.
check Monday again. I didn't get those bylaws, RSA, and Robert's rules.
Okay. Okay.
Did anybody else get that one?
I didn't get the Robert's.
I got it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I didn't. Okay.
I can just resend them.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Operator.
Everyone got into their town emails though, right?
Thank you. I haven't tried yet. I just got it today.
Okay.
That's fine. I will resend everything. Once you get into your town emails, please email me because I will only be sending information through to your town email as we transition, because I wasn't sure who had and who hadn't. So. All right, get back to review. Polly, can you just clarify what line is the property taxes on this?
All the way up.
All the way up?
No, go
Sorry, I just want to make sure.
down. Maybe I don't have it on there.
I didn't see it, I just want
I
to,
might take it off for this because I know it's not in the budget.
okay. All right, I just wanted to clarify because I didn't remember, it's okay, I didn't remember seeing it, so. All right, so that 10% is where.
It is low because.
It is low.
It's just the time of year. A lot of the funds don't, the state's year end isn't until July 1st, so a lot of stuff we don't get until after that.
Okay, all right, thank you. I just want to make sure I wasn't losing my. Okay,
Stacy, the state runs on a fiscal year?
the state runs on a fiscal year.
Thanks.
All right, we're going to review expenditures. Did everyone have a chance to look at this? Because I will just look at the bottom lines of the department. So total for 4130 executive, we are right about 15%. It looks about where it should be. Any questions? All right, we're gonna go to election and registration. which makes sense, we're at 13.71%. And that line shouldn't really change that much because we don't have an additional election this year, so we will be pretty much where we are. Right, line 4150, financial administration. Or pretty good, it's 63,253. Any comments or?
Assuming that the TC supplies has got to be recategorized there,
That's,
down 12.31%.
that's under. Oh, yeah. Well, actually, that looks like was there a refund?
If it was a return of something it was from December, but it got returned.
Credited.
and I had to put
So,
it there.
so a refund hit in January, so we would see it as a deduction.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so we are down. We're making money on that line right now. It's a good thing. All right. The forms and envelopes is at 52.36%. Do we do that one time a year?
Yeah, she orders a bunch of stuff at the beginning. So she probably ordered all of her, like tax forms and stuff for the bills.
That's what I figured, yeah. So she probably orders it
Yeah.
in the spring for the July tax bill and then in the fall for the fall tax bill. And that computer software was one time, correct? That was for, yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. Any questions on that one? All right, we are gonna go to legal expense, 4153. It's about 13.95%. Don't see any questions, no one? All right, personal administration. The unemployment and workman's comp is because we pay that in January, correct? Any questions? We're at planning and zoning, item 4191. At 15% for that line item budget. All right. Government buildings, 4194.
I can explain that one. So we had an employee that was temporary full-time, so his pay was going into the part-time line, and then he became full-time during that quarter, so that's his beginning pay, but it would really go all into full-time.
Okay, so that will probably be moved to full-time by the end of the year when you
It's
truly.
already been moved.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yep, all right, just making sure, just looked a little
It's
strange.
just the payroll item. So
Okay.
that's where it was going.
Right, so we had a full-time, we had a temporary, part-time person that was then made
He was temporary full-time.
temporary, full-time,
When we got the new director, then he took
became
over his position. Yep.
full-time.
Yep.
And since then, we've moved that money to the full-time line. Okay. All right.
So back on planning and zoning, 4191-2, contracted services, 30,000. That's the master plan
That is correct, yep.
person we're gonna hire to help us out. Do you know when that's gonna happen, or
I don't, that's a planning board
sometime
question.
this year? Yeah.
It's supposed to start this year. We're gonna talk about, the planning board and other discussions, because
The
we'll talk
CIP
about.
committee,
Yep,
yeah.
we will.
Back to the overtime.
Overtime what? For government buildings? Yeah.
45%?
My guess is is that salary overtime, that's probably because of snow. And cleaning and salting and, because,
Various things.
don't forget to please put your microphone on. I'm gonna,
It could be for the recycling center, it could be for snow.
yeah,
But there were a lot of random snowstorms and the windstorms and, you know, that.
Right.
Yeah.
right, yeah. I mean, that's government buildings, so my guess would be shoveling sidewalks and steps and sanding and things like that fall under that with snow. So we kind of have been used to not having a lot of snow, and then we had February this year. You know, it happens. Next year, it might not happen. Any other questions on government buildings?
So don't look at those like that, because the budget is really just the bottom line for heating service other. I can't, in the system, break it out by the property.
Okay,
So the way you need to look at it is the budget for that heating service other, that 419409, is 25,000. We've spent 5,400. Does that make sense?
yeah, so the numbers are above the number, or is it below the number? So it says heating services,
Yeah.
and so that would be heating services would be
419409.
35,000,
Yep.
correct? And
Yep.
that would be that,
Yeah.
yep,
That's really what's been spent, but.
yep.
looking
And the
at
individual,
Property is gonna look like there was no budget,
but it's not that way.
you can't break it out.
Yep, when I reviewed it, I saw that, because we don't review it in the original budget that way, so. All right. And then the same thing with utilities.
Yeah, any of those ones with multiple,
Yep. So government buildings is right about 16%, 15.91. Do we have any questions on government buildings at all, other than the ones I pointed out, the overtime? All right, we'll move on to cemeteries. There hasn't been a lot of expenditures that have hit the cemeteries. Is that because they're coming?
we haven't gotten a sanitary bill.
Okay.
And usually I don't in the winter.
Oh, right. Okay. The sexton, are they getting paid on a monthly basis?
No, quarterly, so.
Quarterly,
They
okay.
got paid after I sent this.
Okay.
After I created.
All right, I just trying to clarify why that would be quarterly, okay. Want to make sure. All right, any questions, cemeteries? We haven't, insurance, liability, and deductible. That hasn't hit yet. Regional dues has hit. Other government. cable and social media, that's quarterly? Is that quarterly as well?
It's whenever I get a timesheet.
It's whenever you get time.
I don't know if he's still in there.
Did you hear that, Nick?
Okay, so I just see it 0 and I'm like,
I'm with you.
okay. Any questions on other general government? All right. Police department. So I know that overtime and part-time is high, and that is because we are still looking for an officer, a full-time officer. So until we fill that position, we're covering it with part-time officers and overtime. And the cruiser replacement's completed, correct?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm asking you, but yeah.
I think there's like sometimes they wait for like the lights or something.
Okay. So that's heat. So. Yeah. I don't know if we wanna. What? Yeah.
They honestly don't fill up with their propane as much as the other buildings do. And I remember there was one bill at the beginning of the year that was paid that was really for last year. Yeah, that's in that number. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so they filled up towards the end and it didn't hit
We'll
until the
probably get
end.
one fill up next year. So, I mean, in the winter.
In the fall.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just gonna write it as a note that we may wanna look at that number. Oh, the liaison, Chuck, is going to take that note and he'll try to figure out, just clarify. All right. Any questions on the police department? Besides those items? Any? All right. Fire department. So.
Now, the truck that they're buying
goes over the amount.
Put it down. Sorry. Yep.
what happens?
If the truck that they're buying is over the amount that is in the warrant article? What? It isn't.
Oh, it isn't, okay.
Okay.
Because the Monday's meeting, notes
They had a
were,
whole bunch of different ones they actually are gonna get because they're gonna pay for it ahead of time and get a certain percentage of it.
40, don't quote me, it's like 40,000.
44,000.
Okay.
So
Oh, make sure you put your, I know.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
so, then that's less than what they were. Okay, perfect.
So if something like that happened, it would have to go to the select board and they would have to make a determination. All right. Ambulance supplies, overtime.
Cylinder full-time firefighter. One of the few positions that was approved on the March ballot was the 2 full-time firefighters. Is that part of the 630?
It will get added to the budget line.
So it's not in there yet?
No, it's in the budget.
That's what I was thinking. It looks
Yeah.
like it's,
It's in the budget, it's not in the actuals because they haven't found anybody.
Right,
So it's in the budget line.
that's what I thought, okay.
Yep. So once a warrant article gets approved,
That was the only one.
yep,
so.
well, once the warrant article gets approved, then it ends up as part of the operating budget in that line item.
I have a question.
Okay?
That's on great. So if we haven't hired them yet, but money's been allocated, so what happens to all the surplus money that we're not paying out to them right now? Like, let's say they start in July, and they have that 6 months, but what happens to the other months that where we already have allocated salary? Where do those funds go?
So any money that has been allocated, but that is not spent out, at the end of the year, there's a meeting for encumbering, so like money that something has gotten bid and then the rest of the money goes back to the general fund. So it's credited to the taxpayers.
And just while I have that still on, does that go the same for, oh, I had that in my head. Oh, for like overtime that's not used, or training allotments that aren't. All the
So
way,
any
they all go
left-
into, all the surplus goes into the general fund based on calendar year? So at the end of the year?
So at the end of the year, there's a meeting last week of December where they encumber anything, and encumbering is taking money that has been, so let's say,
Not used.
no, so let's say I sign a contract in October and I'm gonna get my widget, but my widget isn't coming until February, but my contract or my purchase order has been signed, but the delivery date. So I wouldn't have to pay that out until I got delivery. That would be encumbered. So there has to be some type of contract, purchase order or something that says I've already purchased that and it's on this year's budget. The rest of the money gets pushed back to the general fund and gets credited to the taxpayers.
Okay, how do we see that as taxpayers?
It's what the board is able to use to help reduce the tax rates. So the state tells us this is what your tax rate is based on the the assessed value, and what your potential revenues are going to be, and the expenses and all that stuff. It's a whole big calculation.
Right.
And then the select board can use that fund. It's I'm gonna call it a fake fund because it's not really a bank account, but whatever the money is, let's say there's $3 million in there. Yeah. They could use that in their calculation and say, we're gonna use $1 million of it this year to reduce the tax rate from $20 to $18 or something like that. So that's how you get it back.
So
It's
how you would
reducing the
see
tax
it
rate.
is actually in the minutes of the select board meeting when they set the tax rate. So when they set the tax rate, so they'll set it in soon?
It depends, no,
May.
October.
Oh, November. They won't set it, sorry. They'll set it in November. At that meeting in October, they sat and discussed how much was returned from the previous year, how much was in this general fund, how much revenue we've received to date, and what the budget was for the previous year. So the tax rate in November will get set on the 2025 budget.
Got it.
It's also important to know that for the Department of Revenue Administration, a certain percentage of our budget has to remain. Oh, yes, you're right.
Sorry. I want people to understand, because this is actually a great question for people to understand how we
The
process.
Department of Revenue Administration is the ones who help to set the tax rate.
At that state level?
It's
State level, okay.
And they require the town to keep a certain percentage of their budget in this sort of general fund, if you will. So even though we might have $3 million, that doesn't mean the town can take the $3 million to try to use it to reduce the tax rate. The Department of Revenue Administration is going to make us keep a certain percentage.
Yeah, the state will say you're allowed to use 1.5 million to help reduce.
Does
So
that-
one
does
of
that
the-
percentage change every year, or is it the
Yes,
same?
it depends on what's in there.
Got it.
One of the documents that I sent to you is that I'll resend to everyone is the technical assistance for towns. And this is from the Department of Revenue, and it will kind of explain everything and how it's supposed to be, and I think it's important. Last year, we spent a little time reviewing how the tax rate was calculated, so people could understand how the tax rate, what the money goes back to, and we will do that again as we get closer to looking at the budget, but this gives us some information on how it's done in the DRA's recommendations and information on that.
DRA.
Department of Revenue Administration.
Thank you. I asked and I knew.
All right,
Thank you.
welcome. All right, so looking at this, and this is probably the same thing, they fill their propane tank.
Yeah, a lot of time the heat, goes, like, we pay a lot this time of year, and
Then not so much in the fall.
the heats are very hard to calculate for the budget, because we take the average of what was spent, the average amount of gallons and all that stuff that was spent the year before. But we don't know how cold it's going to be or whatever the following year, so we take the average and figure it out. That's how.
Yep, it's the only way.
It's the only way.
I mean, if we could predict the weather and what it was going to be like, yeah.
We know how much it's gonna cost per gallon, but we don't know exactly
How much is gonna be used. If we could say it's gonna be 40 and mild all next year, we would be doing something else. All right. So, and this is one of those all the way through.
Question real quick. What was the line that says antique?
That is the maintenance for the rolling equipment.
It's one of the vehicles that we have. It's an antique. I don't know if it's one of the fire trucks, the antique fire
it
truck.
is, yep.
But it's
Cool, thank you.
So anytime they fix any of them, they put it in whatever vehicle line it is.
All right, so we have fire. Pretty much. At 20%, which is right about where it should be. Town inspectors. Any questions on town inspectors? Right. Emergency management. This one should be pretty low all year this year because we don't have the Seabrook drill. And some of these, if you see some of these expenses and there's zero, it's because they were in the previous year's budget. So we see it as in the reports that we get.
Because the budget, when we do it during budget season, it's a 4 or 5 year span. So if those lines were in one of those years, I can't take it out until it's been zero.
For 5 years, yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
All right, we're at the highway department. This is snow and salting and,
Yes, that one is.
yep, overtime.
Well, that's part-time.
Wait,
Oh, the overtime.
Overtime.
Yeah.
The part-time is also at 52%, 53%.
It's one person that, for that, it's one snow person that's not subcontractor, he's a part-timer.
Okay,
So that was just for
for
snow.
snow,
Yeah,
okay.
and then he doesn't work the rest, like, he just works for
He
snow.
just works for snow, he doesn't, yeah.
Is that dumpster rental for the recycling?
It's for the dumpster at the highway.
So, yeah, that there's a dumpster at the highway department, so there's that dumpster. The dumpsters that are at the recycling center go under solid waste and recycling, and we'll get to that item.
Stacy, real quick, what category are we in right now? Which one?
Highway department.
Thank you.
Right, I'm gonna keep going. This is equipment maintenance, equipment repairs, heat. The cold patch. See, we're at 86.4%.
So they probably won't need anything in there for the rest of the year.
Okay. I'm just curious at that, because,
Majority of it's used during the winter to fill the potholes, so
yeah,
you're right.
because they would use hot top in the summer and the fall, but,
That shouldn't go any further.
equipment maintenance, and then heat. And then most of this we'll see because we're coming into the
They're
road.
just starting their, like,
Yep. Salt, snow plowing. This is contracting snow plowing, this is contracting snow plowing.
Yeah.
The snow plowing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the overtime, so I'm just trying to, because we have a lot of new people, so I'm just trying to make sure. So contracting snow plowing is under this line item. If the person is plowing and they work for the town, it's in the salary lines.
in the overtime.
Right, in the overtime.
This line is for subcontractors.
Correct, subcontractors, yep. I just want to make sure people understand that are new. All right. Is there any other questions on the highway department? We have street lighting, we're pretty good. And then we go to other highway, streets and bridges. Have we gotten the bridge grant yet? Does anyone know? It was more curious. So just so everyone is aware that $1.4 million will only be spent if we get the grant, it's not, even though it's in our operating budget, it's only to be spent if we get the grant, so.
And there's revenue, the exact same revenue to
Offset
it.
Yep. All right, so sanitation. We are at solid waste. All right, about 20%, 25%, which makes sense because we're a quarter of the way through. My only question would be just more of a curiosity about the penalties and surcharges.
So that is, it's the fuel charge on the pickup, and the price changed, I want to say, per the contract, but
Yep.
in February, beginning of February.
Okay.
So but we already had it, it's all budgeted in.
It's all budgeted in. So so this is the fuel charge, the fuel surcharge that we're still getting tagged with?
Yes, yep,
Okay.
that comes on the monthly bill.
Yep. I just want to, because I was just curious to see if it was penalties from us not
No.
doing something that we want to try to get our friends and neighbors to correct something. Okay.
Just on that, is there a particular clause where the gas goes down to a certain amount that they don't, so they can,
In the contract, every year it's a set monthly,
Surcharge.
900 or 7, you know, whatever, I don't remember exactly.
because they've converted from gas and diesel to propane? Be interesting to see.
In the trash?
Yeah. I happened to,
Yeah.
the fellow happened to come by our place after the fact, somebody had an issue not putting the barrel out, and the guy came and explained everything, and brand new $1.2 million truck, which you've probably ridden in.
I
So
would
anyway,
ask-
he was showing me all the little finer things in there of the truck, which was interesting to hear, you know, what they do. And he said, yeah, and he was telling me, well, they got the propane tankers on top of where they hold the propanes on top of the truck, but the fire release is on the opposite end in the rear. I mean, all kinds of stuff that you wouldn't think would ever have passed, but did. But anyway, and they get the propane from their own dump, from their recycling thing.
I
So,
would definitely
Somebody might want to, I mean.
Well,
they-
that's
Bring
interesting.
that down.
have the highway talk to the.
All right, so we can just take that as a note to follow up with the highway department to see if they're now switching, if we still get that surcharge, because now, well,
Because that is built in our contract, that
It's a
amount, the
rhetorical
surcharge amount. So I don't know if they'll reduce it or not.
Certainly would entertain a conversation. I don't know how many, now this, the one truck that he had that I saw, it pretty much does Kingston. Now, they may only have one out of their hundred that they have there, but, yeah, for everything as they get the new trucks in.
Just a small note,
is your microphone on?
just a small note. All of the trucks will be at 13 feet 6 inches tall. That means that during the summertime, when it gets hot, the wires tend to droop a little bit off the poles. So maybe highway should be warned, just in case, utilities, whatever.
Okay, but we don't own, so that,
That's,
I understand that, but we don't
I
own
think
the
Chief
wires?
Chief Pellerin's been made aware.
Okay. Okay, so we're good,
More to follow.
except on certain roads, but that's okay.
That's their problem.
That's their problem.
They take the wires down, that's.
Stacy, just point, whose job would it be then to follow up?
The liaison?
Is that Eleanor
Nope,
taking that to the?
our liaison.
Someone's taking notes too.
Our
So our liaison, so
Oh,
our highway liaison is Anne Marie.
Oh,
So she's not here tonight, but I will ask her to just make sure we will. My guess is that before I even get to talk to Anne Marie about this, someone will have talked to the highway and said, oh, something interesting came up in budget committee last night. And I'm just saying that,
thank you.
yeah.
So that's kind of how the liaisons work. Like
Exactly.
or-
Yeah, whoever you're a liaison with, it's to reach out to them, talk to them when these questions, so when
That all makes
when
sense
when I say we're gonna follow up, I try to remember who the liaisons are, all of them, and I'm pretty good at it, but I'll just say liaison so I don't mess it up.
No, that makes a lot of sense now, because I didn't understand all the connections with the liaison
Yep,
assignments. And I'm like,
yep,
so that's
okay,
Who am I the liaison for?
we'll get back to that.
Highway.
I just wanna follow this. I have it all written down. We did it at the last meeting. Okay, any other questions on sanitation? Go ahead.
How long is the contract for with them, with waste management?
The contract ends on January 1st, 2028, December 31st, 2028. Sorry, 27. Okay, I'm sorry. We have to have a new contract on January 1st, 2028.
Gotcha.
Or whatever, but it ends in 27, so in 28. So we're 2 more years, 2.5 of this. Yeah. Health department. Everything, that's a credit, correct?
Yes,
Okay. Just making sure.
right now.
Do we know if this is enough money with the current situation of PFAS? Probably not. We don't know yet. Okay, just curious. I know that we reduced it significantly for this year, thinking we weren't gonna have to supply bottled water, and I don't know if, yeah.
And the credit is because somebody or residents, once they got the system, returned, like,
Bottled water. Okay.
that's what they told me anyway.
Okay. And we may have additional bottled water we may be supplying this year. Okay. Any questions on the health department? Pest control. Oh, is this animal control? Pest control, animal control, not pest?
It's all the same,
Okay,
but that's what it has to be called. It is,
animal control.
for us, it's animal control, but per the state, you have to have specific, account
44,
names.
yeah.
The sub-accounts can be whatever, but the main ones, and that's what it has to be called.
Okay.
Pest.
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 That's new.
Okay, so this is for animal, we normally call this animal control. Okay. Human Services Department. Any questions on Human Services Department? General Assistance. So rent is right at, is 45.8%. So we're probably seeing additional people that are needing help, and the economy is, sorry, just so everyone knows, Marissa is also the human services person, so.
Yeah, we do have quite a few people in crisis. We have a couple of people that need hotels because of lack of housing.
Okay. So just so everyone on budget committee understands, general assistance, if they qualify, the town is required by law to provide them assistance if they qualify for assistance. So if this goes over budget, unlike this has to be provided, the money has to be found in the town budget and moved to this location. So this is something that at 45% in 1 quarter is, yep. So we just need to be cognizant of that, but there's no changing that if they qualify.
Yeah, part of the issue is the shelters are all full, so there's no shelter space. So if you can't get a shelter, you have to go to a hotel.
Right.
And just so all the new budget members know, this is the one part of the budget that could make our bottom line budget go negative.
Yeah. It is the only.
We went over this and by $1 million, we have to go over it by $1 million.
So, so this is
Not that we
something
ever-
that we should just be aware of, but that it is kind of telling of where the economy is. So we should be aware as we go into budget season where we're at in Kingston, and that we need to be aware of that.
Question, does Kingston have a shelter? Just wondered, where did the people go? Bust out empty?
Manchester,
Yeah, there's one in Dover, Portsmouth, there's nothing really that's close. There is one in Exeter, but it's only for families who can drive, so if you have someone who doesn't have a car.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Social service agencies. Pretty straightforward. So these are donations we give to social service agencies that provide assistance to residents in Kingston. Parks and recreation. This is do we know if the telephone internet is done on a quarterly basis? Because if we're only 3 months in, we're a third of the budget. Okay.
It's not quarterly,
It's monthly. Yeah, because if we project this out, it will be over. I just curious. Okay, so 4520-16. I just don't know if like something changed.
I'll double check.
Yeah, we'll also just check on that. All right, any question on parks and recreation? Library. The library budget, we will go over before we review the library because of the whole transfer account. We'll sit down and go over how it works because the library budget doesn't work like any other budget that we do. So when we get closer to budget season, we'll just have a quick, I'll see if someone from the library, for the past few years, we've had the treasurer of chair of the trustees on the budget committee kind of talk us through this, so I'll see if we can get somebody from the library to kind of go over it again so that everyone understands how it works, because it doesn't, it's not as straightforward as the rest of the budget with the transfer. It's a good, it's good to have the explanation so we all understand it.
Stacy, since I'm on the library committee, should I do that, or the library trustees?
Yeah, I think the treasurer of the library.
It's John.
Yeah, so he used to be on budget committee, so I was gonna
Reach out to him.
I don't know if he'll come explain it to us, but he's done such a good job the last couple of years that I probably can just reach out to him and say,
Great.
we have a new budget committee, can you explain it again? And he most likely will.
Thanks.
Patriotic purposes, museum. Any questions on the museum? Heritage.
Did they get their recorder?
They do, they have their salaries. So they got their recording secretary. So some of these salaries haven't hit because, as Paula said previously, she needs to get a time card, and some of the recording secretaries will give a time card, not on every week or whatever, but so it will hit when it hits, and just need to make sure, because nothing's hit the expenditure yet, even though we've probably had someone
He was there at the last meeting.
She was there at the last meeting?
Yep.
Right, the recording secretary? Okay. So we need to, it's just a paperwork process, so we won't see the numbers until the paperwork gets processed. All right, Heritage. I'm pretty sure that's the same thing. They are having the anniversary of the Plains Cemetery. I know I sent you guys all that invitation, so if you are interested in going in the tour, and it's pretty cool to see some of the people who are in our cemetery. So, any questions on Heritage? The transfer to the Heritage Commission has the ability to transfer donations and money to a Heritage fund. I think it's called the Heritage Fund. So Conservation and Heritage, they have the ability to transfer money from the operating budget into a fund if they don't spend it all, or they can give it back. So they can transfer money out of their operating budget into a fund if they want to spend something or in the future. So Conservation has a fund, and you'll see this transfer line, and they can transfer money from the operating budget to their fund and then spend it on things like additional milfoil treatment, or they could spend it on working on some of the trails or anything like that. And they're allowed to do that per the RSA for those two areas. And not every committee is allowed to do this, but some of them. I believe they're the only two. Yeah. And, well, the library, but that's a whole different. So we're on Conservation. Anyone have Heritage, Conservation? All right. Then we have our bonds and transfers and our final budget. And this is, sorry, I just want to make sure. That's the total budget, not including revenue.
Correct.
Correct, yep. And
But
then,
that's the total budget that was voted for in warrant article, plus any warrant articles that passed, that gets added.
that
to
got
the budget.
passed, right.
Yep.
So that wasn't the number that was on the operating budget. This is the total. And then we have our ordinary.
That's just accounting. from
Yep.
QuickBooks.
So this is where we're at. We're right about 20%, which is where we should be. We have a few areas where we could ask a few questions just to see what's going on with those areas. Remember, when we're asking questions, it's not about whether they can spend it, it's about what's going on so we can be better prepared to create the budget for next year. So as a budget committee, we cannot restrict spending. That is the select board's responsibility to determine spending. If a budget line item is going over, we don't tell them how to spend their money, but it's more about information to better prepare for a budget. Just making sure it's a little confusing, yes. Budgets committees prepares the budget and makes sure we have enough information to prepare the best budget for the town and for the taxpayers. The select board's responsibility is a bottom line budget, and they can spend that however they need to operate the town. And that is, so I just want to make sure if you're a liaison, you're talking, it's more informational, not you can't. So just make sure we're collaborating with department heads and making sure we're preparing, saying, oh, this doesn't, did we miss something? Or did we, did we upgrade something and we weren't aware that it was going to be upgraded? Just questions like that. All right. Any questions, other questions on the expenditures, revenue? All right, so some of us attended, training through the NHMA for local officials. We got some really good information. One of them was the technical assistance for towns from the DRA, which I sent all to you. During that meeting, they talked about changing from a calendar to a fiscal year, and I sent everyone the presentation that one of the people who used to work for NHMA put together on a process to do that. Right now, it's for information only, because I know that that hasn't gone to the select board, and that will be probably further discussions sometimes. Go ahead.
Yeah, the Board of Selectmen did want me to remind the Budget Committee, based on your meeting last month where you talked about setting your priorities, that any changes to the calendar year is a policy issue and therefore not actually a Budget Committee priority, and the same with setting any tax caps, as this committee is policy, not a Budget Committee purview, and they understand your interest, but they just wanted me to remind the committee that that's really not within your purview to try to set policy. Certainly bring it to the board's attention if you wish, that it's of interest, but that policy issues are not out of the Budget Committee purview per RSA.
Right, and the tax cap is, the discussion we had about tax cap was because there are several interests in the tax cap.
Yeah, it was just where it was listed under Budget Committee policy review that you want, priorities that you want to talk about this year, that the Board of Selectmen asked me to come back and just gently remind the Budget Committee that that's policy, and so therefore not really. Yeah, no, I understand that. On the board, and I didn't want, a misunderstanding as to discussion purposes. Yeah. If I've been asked to come back.
Yeah. And, I think, at the NHMA session, it was kind of, the speaker actually said, he was like, I don't understand, and so I think, it's just something that I've kind of been trying to evaluate or get the select board to evaluate for the last few years. But now we have the presentation, so we'll see if we can make some motion. But that will impact how we budget.
And, do what you want offline, but it's not a Budget Committee.
We can't make the decision.
Correct.
But that decision significantly impacts how we budget.
And the Board of Selectmen will let you know if we're coming over.
Okay, so we did that. I sent you guys some information. There is the budget and finance workshop is on September 11th. There's the one in Manchester on September 11th. The signups are not up yet. And there's also, that is a hybrid, so in person or virtual. And then there's another budget and finance workshop on September 16th in Littleton. And every other year, they offer a financial policies certificate program from September 3rd to October 1st, and there's multiple classes, and it's on financial policies for municipalities, and if anyone's interested, let me know. We can look further into it because it talks about financial policy and it's multiple, and you get a certificate that says you took the financial policy certificate program. And that's something that they only offer every other year. So those are some of the trainings that are coming up. And
The one on the 11th, where is that one?
it's in Manchester.
Thank you.
You can go virtual, yep. And the one, and there is another local officials workshop coming up on June 5th, but that is in Jaffrey, so you'd have to go all the way to Jaffrey. But the one that was just on Thursday, I know that a few of us attended. My favorite section is the question and answer section. You get a lot of information from that. You get a lot of information, and I did it virtually. I asked a handful of questions, and I got some really interesting answers. So, but it's nice to just kind of have that understanding of roles and responsibilities. So, all right. So, I did send you out a couple other things just for you to look at. But I did send you a presentation that was done in Rye about risk pools and SB 297. And that bill could significantly impact how we purchase and how we insure the town. I don't know if you'd like to come up, and so Lori went to it, so I overheard it during the select board meeting. She kind of talked about it briefly, and I wanted the budget committee to be aware of it because this is something that is coming down the line in the state, and we may want to talk to our state rep. Lori, if you could, so I asked for the slides so that we could have them all because there's a handful of bills that are going through right now that could significantly impact how we budget next year.
So Mike Cotu of the Rye Select Board has a lot of experience in risk pools, so he put this presentation together and they sent it out to like seacoast municipalities, and so I attended, and I am in no means an insurance expert, but I feel like I learned a lot in 2 hours. So in a nutshell, it's SB 297, and the overarching issue is that it's the transfer of the policy covered risks and other financial and legal obligations to the members. Currently, the risk pool, we're going to just say health trust, they really cover 100% of the cost. If SB 297 passes, that won't be the case. So a significant increase in cost to the municipalities will probably happen. So under the SB 297, I think everybody is under the misnomer that it's an insurer. Our risk pool management is not an insurer, so it doesn't function in the traditional sense of insurance. So it doesn't guarantee a cost or fixed cost coverage. So what self-insurance is that, simply put, self-insurance means using your money, your contributions to pay your claims. That's what SB 297 is going towards, and other legal obligations. So depending on the model, the amount of risk transfers from the insured to the insurer, and that can vary, right? So a true insurance, think about your home, it transfers all of the risk to the risk bearer. They're gonna switch it up. So they're gonna push the cost down to us. So they have, essentially what this means is that there are no provisions in the current statute that requires or allows the risk pools to bring an assessment against its members. An assessment means is if they determine at any time during the year they do not have enough in a contingency fund to meet all of their obligations, they can divide that up between all the municipalities and say you now owe an additional $100,000 on top of your yearly contributions. That's what they're looking at doing. Oh, I know, right? So, I know. So if it becomes law, right, if it becomes law, as the bill is written, now there are amendments, but they haven't voted on them yet. So as it's currently written, covered claims, administrative costs, liabilities, legal obligations will be transferred to the participating members, meaning the municipalities, okay? So that's the biggest problem. So what they consider an assessment is if they determine actuarially determined to be insufficient to discharge their claims, the program shall within 30 days of such determination collect additional contributions. So if there's a lot of triggers, and you have the slides, and I'm not by any means an expert, and the different triggers, it depends on if it's the healthcare pool or if it's your workman's comp or property casualty. It's different percentages. So if it goes, the reserve goes below a certain percentage. Some of them are based on paid claims. Some of it's based on annual contributions. So you really have to pay attention to all the triggers. So if a triggering event occurs, and there's multiple of them, the pooled risk management program may collect from participating members assessments or replenishments whenever required. So it could be any time during the year. So it's not conveniently at budget season. It could be whenever, if the state, municipalities have some catastrophic events during the year, they're not sucking that cost up. I'm not going through all these slides because if you have them, you can read them, and then
I think
you can let me know. So
I think I really just wanted to make people aware
that
this is happening.
But here's the crux of it. So the way they're going to calculate it is if there's, they have to have a certain amount in their contingency fund. If it drops below 12%, they're going to say, you owe us more money. So they're going to divide that up between all of the members, and they're going to come up with it. There's a formula, and for the purposes of this thing, it's $168,000 if your annual contributions were $1.4 million. Ours are, we'll just say $1 million, right? So if our annual contributions are $1 million,
This is just health insurance.
this is just health insurance, right? 12%, right? It could probably be an additional $125,000 that we would have to pay. Okay. Part of the bill is that we have to establish a healthcare stabilization fund. I'm on slide 21. A healthcare stabilization fund, which is 4% of our annual contributions. So we still have to have extra money. So that would be $40,000. in a fund that you can only establish during a warrant article. So we don't have that. So if they do an assessment and they say you owe $125,000, and then you don't have this fund set up, you still have to pay what you would have had in that fund. So that's an additional $40,000. So that's $165,000 that we would have to come up with. So the amendment to 297 takes away that stabilization fund part, but it doesn't take away the assessment or at any time.
The timing of this, is this going to become law and then implemented on July 1st, or is it going to be?
You know, Pam might be able to speak to when it's gonna go, but they're thinking maybe June. I'm sorry?
It's not gonna be tomorrow, we have session tomorrow,
Right,
but it could be in the next 2 sessions.
right.
And
I
then,
don't think anyone's happy with this.
So-
I don't see any benefit here.
So the select board voted at the last meeting that we're writing a letter of opposition from the town. You know, there's, unless the legislature is gonna have to decide what they wanna do. Health Trust has indicated that if it passed, they're pulling out. So we won't have that option of a risk pool for health care, which
We wouldn't, so that's where our employees' health insurance, we have our health insurance through. So, and one of the other pools that provides health insurance to towns already pulled out. So, yeah. So then the town will then have to look for, they might just have to go directly to Blue Cross and get health insurance or Harvard bill, whatever, you know, instead of having this group to help do a lot of the background work.
And part of what they would like to see is that currently this falls under the Secretary of State, and they don't understand why, because it really should be under the New Hampshire Department of Insurance. Because if it were under the Department of Insurance, it would function more like an FDIC, right? Where if the bank's fold, FDIC is gonna cover blah, blah, blah. But the way it is right now is that they don't have to cover 100%. And yeah, so it's not good. So anyway, if you have any specific questions, I'm happy to reach out to the gentleman who did this presentation, and he was very, very helpful. Yeah, wait, I do know Dave Lane. Dave Lane is the sponsor of the bill. He had some, Yeah, I think, yeah. Yes, he's the sponsor of the bill. Yeah.
if you didn't get them, let me know. And I guess one of my concerns is like the implementation or the timing of this, because our budget is done until the 31st, and if something changes, and this all could change, the state's fiscal year starts on July 1st. So if I just want to make budget committee aware of this. I think it's something that if you want to reach out to your state rep, right over there, just to voice your concern or your opinion. I think it's important, because I think this could impact us dramatically, and without having, already having an approved budget and approved warrant articles, we could be scrambling and having to go to a special meeting, and it would get very tough for the town of Kingston. And
right, I mean, it's an unfunded mandate, so,
yeah.
And they penalize you if you don't have this fund set up. They're saying you have to have it, but there's no way we can actually have it right? And then they make you pay that. None. Well, I mean, Primex, they're in support of it, they like it. Of course they do.
Because, well, yeah. So I think, so this is just aware, I know that the select board is in support, and is writing a letter to not support this, to go to the state. I don't know how budget committee feels about kind of tagging on to and stating how, like, we are in budget. We're not in budget season. We're on a calendar year. How are you going to do this to municipalities who are SB2 towns that have already done this? So I don't know if there's any interest from budget committee to kind of do a similar thing to say, hey, what do you guys, you know, from a budget committee, we didn't budget for this. There's no way for us to do that, but that's just, go ahead. Oh, okay. I just think the more opposition that we can send to the state, the better off we are. And if we can if we can collaborate with the select board and support this and say, as what, not only does the select board think it, but an official budget committee has spoken up and said, how are we, what are you doing? We're not in budget season. We won't be in budget season and vote on it until next March, so.
And no offense, even if we were, I don't want to vote on these numbers.
I don't either. I don't even want to think about it, because I look at, if this would to happen, we would go from our quarterly review to, okay, now we're going to have a real budget meeting and figure out how to get some of these warrant articles and our budgets revised to go in front of the people to vote, so that we don't get all these penalties.
So Sam, just in case you haven't gotten our letter yet, the Board of Selectmen are asking everyone to vote no.
Okay, we might.
Unfortunately, it hasn't been this month, so I'll definitely get a summary together and send it to you.
Okay, that's great. And if we could, yeah. So,
There's a lot of bills that has interest groups behind them, and I found that once they're flushed out, they get voted down, so.
That's
So-
encouraging.
You just have to make sure you're at the table, that's all. Because they'll sneak it onto the calendar for us, and then it gets voted on without us knowing, so.
Go ahead.
Pam, when is this supposed to come before the House?
I have no idea. We have 2 more sessions coming up in May. So it could be next week, it could be the week after next.
There were several reps at the meeting from, Hampton, that kind of area. They seem to think it still had to go, they're thinking June is by the time it would get to the House, but.
Didn't have my mic on, it could be tabled as well.
Because it had to go, I don't know the process, but they said it still had to go through a couple of other committees or something, and they don't think they'll see it till June, but you never know. I mean, time is of the essence for sure to voice opposition to this.
All right, so I guess I'm taking it. Is there anybody who wants to do a motion for a letter to oppose this to our? All right, I think there's one drafted already, correct?
I think if you just contact Susan.
Oh, okay, so I'm gonna contact Susan. Okay, I have to take a vote first.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on writing a letter to the state opposing this? All those in favor in writing a letter to the state? No, you can't. Opposed? You're opposing? You're in favor, okay. All right, all in favor. I will talk to Susan and see if we can get a copy and just, I think the more municipal boards that can state, hey, what are you doing? How is this going? This is going to really kind of mess us up. There is another bill right now from the Finance Committee. I'm giving my little legislation update that could impact budgeting. There's another one that has, I think it's gone through Senate, but not the House. And this is on the meals and hotel tax that they are capping to the amount of last year. So that would impact our revenue. So that is something, I don't have the number right now. So normally it's a percentage, and in order to help with the state shortfall, they're going to cap it, so we would share the same amount we shared last year, even if the revenue was increased and the state would get the rest of the increase. So this is something that could impact, because we do use that revenue to offset our taxes, so this is something that is happening that could impact our budgets for not just this coming year, but for the next 2 years, because the state budget is a 2-year budget, not a 1 year. I have it someplace, but I can get that. Yep. So, so there is that one as well that would impact our revenue, and and if that sets our revenue, it would be, we wouldn't even get like we wouldn't get inflation costs. Like normally you would see that percentage and your inflation would go up. So it would go up slightly, maybe a few percentage, but it would be stagnant for 2 years. But our costs are not going to be stagnant for 2 years. So that is, sorry? It will be a net loss to our revenue. That is just something that I also want to make people aware of, that is happening as we speak. I think those are the only two that would significantly impact budget committee. There are other ones that are out there that could impact some other things, but those are those.
What bill is that one?
I don't have the number in front of me. I'll get that. I was more focused on 297 because I actually think that's the bigger impact to the town. This other one, even though it's impacting our revenue, isn't as much. I mean, it could be a 3 or 4% revenue.
How much do we get from meals and?
I'll bring it right up.
It varies year to year.
It varies.
No, but
It goes
good.
up.
It goes up usually.
Where is it?
Yeah.
So it would be, come on.
It's up.
No.
Go up.
Up.
Yeah. So in, is it 3? I can't see if that's 553 or 3.
It's 553,446. This is what we put in our budget, and it is the same, it is what we got last year, but that would be stagnated, so it goes up. So this is the budget, and usually what happens is we get like maybe 50, 60,000 more than what we put in our budget, so it's not a whole lot, but it would stagnate at this number for the next 2 years, so it would definitely impact our revenue.
And we don't, the state gives me the updated number when we're creating the tax rate. So October, November.
Right.
They'll say you're going to get X for this.
So if they had a banner year for tourism and hotels and all of that, our rate would go up because we would share it with the rest of the municipalities in New Hampshire. But that would not be the case anymore. It would be set to the total amount, and it would get divided. And I think there's some other ways that they're going to divide it that could reduce how much we get. So those are the two bills that I'm watching, I guess, because they could impact budget committee. All right, so that's under other board business. Is there anything else that anyone wants to discuss?
I have an easy question.
Okay.
I was just wondering, when you send this budget, and I try and print it, it comes out as Excel,
Yep.
but there's all this, the lines are all like typed over. Some of the line items, like
That could
double
be,
digits.
that could be your settings. I think it could be.
Some of it's fine, some of it's not.
Yeah, without looking at your computer, I don't, you saw what I see? I don't know.
Are we allowed to get, like, if I come to the office, can I get a copy of it? The quarterly? It comes out
We
quarterly?
can, yeah. So, so just so everyone knows, I want to thank Paula for attending tonight, and let everyone know that Paula has resigned as finance director, and her last day is May 13th. And on behalf of Budget Committee, thank you so much for getting us all this data. I know that I know it's hard. I know a lot of information, and a lot of meetings and a lot of time, and I thank you for keeping us in all that information and keeping us going, and I wish you luck in the future, and we'll see you at NHMA seminars.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
What? And elections.
What are you gonna do you know?
I am going to Newton.
To Newton, okay, got it. Are we having a big party for you?
But thank you very much, and we appreciate all your. So for that question, we need to figure out going forward. The select board will figure it out, but we do have someone who has access to financial files that may be our recording secretary, so we may as we move forward, but we'll figure that out and we'll communicate.
And usually if you need anything printed or need documentation, you go through your chair.
Yep.
So that way 12 people aren't trying to contact one person for the same stuff, and that way your chair can get whatever documentation, paperwork that you
And I
need.
think that, with Paula leaving, if anyone wants information, just contact me and I'll figure out how to get that information. We'll be fine. We're not meeting for a few more months unless something crazy like 297 gets through and we have to redo our budget. But
hopefully not.
Hopefully not. But I think that's all I had. Our next meeting will be April, May. We'll be in July. I think it worked really well having it after the department head meeting. I don't know what I think that. Yeah. So we'll do it the last week. We'll do the Wednesday after that. That will be reviewing expenditures, going over anything that is impacting. That will be our last, I guess, regular meeting, because after July and September, we're going to start budget season. So I'm going to send out a proposed calendar, everyone in budget committee to meet on every 2 weeks, September, October, November, December. And then just making sure everyone knows that this is happening and that we're going to start budget season in September. And we'll meet every other week, Wednesday, so that I can get the request to have this room and everything on the calendar before we get too far down the process. That's
There's 5
July 30th.
5 Wednesdays.
It's okay.
Okay.
July 30th. All right, is everyone all set? All right. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. You have the rec department. I think you had that last time. And that's it, because we have more members this year. That's it. You don't have, so I'll go over them. Executive is me, fire and emergency management is Trish, police and animal control is Chuck, the highway department is Anne Marie, town clerk, tax collector is Mark, human and social services is Lori, recreation, Martha, library, Joseph, building inspection and code enforcement, Pam, planning board, Barbara, zoning board of appeals, Joseph, historic district commission, Gary, conservation commission, Ren, heritage commission, Mark, historic museum committee, Lori, trustees of the trust fund, Anne Marie, solid waste and recycling committee, Ren. And so the two that kind of been added are for informational purposes only, and we will know who's presenting the budget to the budget committee on a later date. That's what, yep. So before I forget, CIP. So they are initiating CIP, which is the capital improvement plan. And so Barbara was on the committee last year. 2 members of the budget committee, Pam was on the budget, on it. They're starting meetings in May. Barbara said she would like to be on it again, so she's, since she has planning board. Is there interest in staying on it I know you're super busy and they're starting in May. And I didn't know if there was anyone else interested in being on the capital improvement plan. Are you, hold on. Are you okay giving that up? Yeah. Yeah, and I want to make sure they're starting really early, and we really kind of pushed them to start this early. So I want to make sure we're representing and we're doing that. So Joseph, you want to, okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, so because we did, if you can't attend, let me know and we may send an alternative to the CIP, just because we want to make sure we're participating, because of that's important to make sure we do that.
When was the first meeting again?
I will let you know. I've been texting the planning board. Yeah. Any questions? All right, we're gonna adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Okay. All right.
I only got one of your
Thank you.
emails from Monday.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry?
I only got one of your emails from Monday.